Okay, so we have another session with Erica, and this is our monthly sort of get together. Let's see what happened and all the fun things that we do on a daily basis. Say hi, Erica. Sorry, I didn't say.
Hey, hi everyone. Welcome to our podcast today.
Yeah, so this episode is really dedicated to sort of looking at some different things outside of med spa. We're going to look at some different types of doctors because we do a lot more than obviously the aesthetics, and we spend a lot of time on aesthetics and social. So we're going to go through that a little bit. But I think the key here is to show success with specialties that are things that we've been doing for years, because we obviously are not just looking at always the same types of services. In the aesthetics world, we're looking at multiple different services. And one of the things for you, the listener or the watcher, is to also identify with the fact that just because we show one specialty uh, is not indicative of all specialties, meaning all specialties are part of the medical community, but the customer or the patient goes through the same journey. Now, they might not have the same cost per acquisition or the cost per lead in each category, but the very same similar principles apply in each approach. So let's talk about the first one that's going to be on our radar screen, and we're showing some ad sets for a OBGYN. So why don't you talk a little bit about it, Erica, and then we'll go into some details. I'll ask some questions, which I think the listener or the viewer might want to have as a standpoint.
Okay, sure, Matt. So this is a client. This is a OBGYN in Maryland. They have a smaller budget, but I think with what we've been given as a budget, it's really a positive story. So this client, they have about 1,000 for the month, and you can see over the past 2 months, we've spent 2,100. Cost per clicks of only $1.36 for medical keywords. These are exact match type keywords like gynecologist near me, OBGYN near me, that we have gotten this low. This is pretty crazy. You can see they have 176 inquiries and 25 phone calls with a cost per conversion of around $11.
Okay, well, hold on. Let's stop there. Cost per conversion. So for you, listener, or the person that's trying to figure this out, because it might be stuff that you haven't heard before, cost per conversion can be a phone call, it can be a lead form, it can be a inbound lead from a piece of material that's out from one of the ads. But a lot of the time when we look at a cost per conversion, we're talking about gathering the data of a customer, meaning their name, their address, their phone number. And that's typically being done in this particular case with ads running in Google that have driven a customer who's inquiring about OBGYN services, and now they're post production, meaning that they've gone now into a lead flow strategy because they've given their data over to us or they've made a phone call, right? Am I missing anything there, Erica?
Well, one very important thing, another conversion that we're counting is actually appointment requests on the website. So these are all actions that are, very strong actions. These are, like you said, phone calls, web forms, or actual appointment requests. So very serious type of actions that we're counting as conversions.
Right. And a lot of people ask us about when we start doing this with clients, they ask a very simple question. Well, what does that mean for the people? How many people convert into people walking through the door, right? And I think there's an eyeball perspective here. If they have 176 conversions over 2 months, right? You said it was a 60-day window.
Correct. Plus another 25 phone calls. So let's say 200.
So 100 different opportunities walking through the door. Well, if you think about what that might mean for a typical conversion rate for an OBGYN clinic, that's usually pretty high. That's usually a pretty good conversion rate because those people are usually not fooling around. It's not like I'm kicking the tires type of story in an aesthetics practice and I want to just, see your pricing. This is I've got an issue or I need to speak with someone, and the conversion rate is probably 70% or better in most of these cases. So obviously there's a different model with OBGYN with insurance-based claims and so forth. So obviously $2,000 mapped up to 200 opportunities is a significant turnaround.
Absolutely, especially Matt, taking into consideration that the majority of those people who are becoming patients will be lifetime patients with, repeat issues or yearly, physicals or exams. So even just beyond the initial return on investment, there's such a long-term opportunity as well, just from that $2,000 that was initially spent to acquire a patient.
Right, and if we look back in time, we're also able to retarget that patient base, right? So all the people that have clicked on these ads, so there's 2,500, or I can't see the number on my screen.
1,500 clicks.
Right, so 1,500 people have been through this. So we can now retarget those people for future processes. And then they've had over 25,000 impressions so that their brand is now being elevated as well.
That's correct, yes.
Good. So all really good things. I would be fairly certain that the doctor is pretty happy with these types of results.
Quite happy. The doctor actually, of course, we have recommended a budget increase with these types of results, especially because the search impression share is only 10%. So even with these great results, they're still missing out on 90% of the market. But because of her own internal issues, she can't even handle more patients. So there's even way more potential here that we could capture.
All right, and it's a good story where we know the scale of this business is almost to a point where how many patients can you take? And a lot of people ask us when we get started with them, how many patients can you guys get me? And I always say, how many can you take? Because we could run it to scale. It's just mathematical to some degree. People who are not in the business and marketing and I think in general who don't understand how it works is that there's an infinitesimal demand pretty much for most of these services. The question is, do you want to put budget and can you get the best possible lead out of that? Now, some people would say, well, is the best lead the lowest cost per acquisition so that I get more volume? And the answer is typically the opposite, which is what you want is a customer of higher value, which typically comes with a little bit higher of a cost, but you get a better yield over time because that patient's going to be a returning patient, as you mentioned.
That's correct, yes.
Awesome. So we have a great story with this OBGYN clinic. What's our next story?
Let's highlight a vein doctor, a pain management vein doctor that we have 2 locations, one in New Jersey and one in Westchester County, New York. This client has a very healthy budget. Over the past 2 months, we have 10 to 11,000 spent per location. And we can see for the New Jersey location, we have generated 91 forms and 12 phone calls for cost per conversion of 120. And then we have Westchester County, which is quite competitive. And you can see the CPC is pretty much double New Jersey of a 51 conversions, 9 calls with a cost per conversion of 213. Now, if we look at this industry, it's a little different. These vein procedures can represent to this surgeon anywhere from $25,000 to $100,000 per patient. So this client has a little more tolerance for a higher cost per conversion, but you can see we've generated 142 plus another 21 on $20,000 of spend. And again, I mean, this literally represents hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not close to $1 million, for this particular vein surgeon.
Right, and we also understand that there are different types of vein surgeries, right? There's ablations, there's varicose.
That's right.
Right.
This is mainly for ablations.
Yeah. So when you talk about vein surgeries, there's different types of models, right? There are minimally invasive strategies, and there are also the more, uh, as you mentioned, medical-based surgical uh, ablations that will be more in tune with what really what you're looking at in this model. But we've done all sorts of different categories. This one happens to be active with the medical side, and I always wonder, um, cost per lead and then cost per acquisition. So we have a lot of times that people need to understand that it's a post-sale process. So these leads come in and then they have to be cleared, right? So they also need to go through a secondary process, and a lot of people don't realize behind the scenes what we do to help that out. There's a lot of follow-ups that we actually support these clients with, whether we're calling them directly and getting their insurance information or the specific procedure before they get there, so that the client themselves spending less time in operation flow and more time doing surgeries. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. And even, some of the keywords that we're negating, like a lot of the insurances that this client doesn't accept, we're negating that from the searches. Even on the landing page, we're saying the main insurances that are accepted. So we're trying to, weed out a lot of the conversions that may not be candidates. That's the first step. The second step is all about the nurturing. As the lead comes into the funnel, they receive automation through our customized CRM profit engines. And in that very first message, the very first question that it's asking this lead is, which insurance do you have? So, we're trying to help the client, number one, first receive the best quality lead possible. But number two, then the ones that do get through, we're trying to give them tools and help to get the lead to respond to us quickly, but also give us that information that we need right away so that we know if this person is a candidate or not.
Right. So key element here, listener or watcher, is post lead process. How are you handling clarification on case value versus case capability, right? So there's a case value that's related to the type of surgery or the type of medical procedure, and there is a case capability. So there's a capability that clients A pay, and B, are they qualified from a medical standpoint? So there's those questions can be done, and we have an outbound, or our practice bloom has a outbound call center to help with these. And I wouldn't even call it a call center. I'd call it a client or a patient care center that we can set up a dialogue with the patient so that when these leads come through, they're clean. And a lot of the things that we've run into over time is that our clients have asked us time after time, I love that you guys are delivering leads, and it's great, but we need to see if we can get more qualified leads delivered and not waste time on people who may not meet our criteria. So we've done the filtering for them in a lot of cases. So it solves the time energy dilemma, which is when you have one front desk person or limited front desk people or limited staff, or just not the ability to want to do the work, and put those people to doing other more important things. We can sort of take that pressure off the front end and bring that time back to the candidates that we're working with. So that's awesome. Is there anything else that's significant about this particular case study?
I think I would want to touch a little bit on audience targeting. We have some very specific bid adjustments in for this client in zip codes that we are targeting, like some of the larger corporations that carry like great insurance that, our client knows that, has strong reimbursements. They accept the insurance. So we're doing a lot of targeting, kind of like you mentioned, Matt, that we want to bring the best quality lead possible. With the insurance barrier, that's another layer of filtering that we have to really do a great job so that we're making the best, use of the ad dollars and the highest optimization possible.
Right. And there's a couple of sneaky tricks in there if you wanted to go after specific buildings that relate to employees.
Yes.
We can use some very hyper targeted uh, longitude and latitude targeting both in Facebook, and there's some coordinates you can work with within AdWords. But more importantly, you can tailor the ad sets to even speak to those people when you start to launch the ad sets to even use their brand within the framework. If you want to go that deep, you can even go into specific branded strategy plus an offer for that brand and then work with the brand itself. There are so many different variables that you can apply, and not one size fits all. But what I will say is that what you've mentioned is that with targeting and custom targeting and audience targeting, retargeting, if you don't have these things in play, you're sort of losing the football game by percentage points to your competitors. And that's why, it's important to think through when you start running these ads is to talk about exactly who you want to get and then use your marketing team, whether they're us or another company, to get your uh, relevance to the person who's looking at the ad as closely as possible to them and their emotional state. The closer we get to the story that's in their head, the quicker we get the conversion.
Exactly. Well said.
So next, we want to talk a little bit about our social strategy. Now we're going to move back into the aesthetics world. I really love what we're doing with Instagram. And I know it's driving tons of business, hundreds of thousands of dollars of business on a monthly basis for our clients. Instagram is the place to be. If you are in aesthetics, in let's just say that category where you know where these people are, they're looking at pictures. Where else do you look at pictures and videos? And it's in Instagram. Obviously, within the framework of Facebook, it's a part of Facebook's algorithm with the ad spend, but it's separate in the organic space. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Okay, absolutely. So, this is an Instagram account that we manage. They have 20.4 thousand followers, and these were all recently acquired since last July. So it's a newer account. We have had some like crazy growth, and I think some of the
Hold on,
secrets.
20,000 new subscribers in 1 year? That's
Yeah,
insane.
yes,
Okay.
exactly.
So it does prove the point that, you know, we go into the matter of who's got the bigger stick. And it's who's going to grow faster with their stick, maybe more than who's got the bigger stick.
Exactly. Now it's a combination of organic and boosted posts. So it's all about an overall strategy for reaching targeted followers and driving engagement on the page so that we rank on hashtag views, especially hashtags that are local.
Right.
I think that's the biggest challenge that we see that local businesses have is how do they know that their followers are actually like local and are going to like come in their business and spend money, and that's where I say it comes down to hashtags. So let me pull up a post and show you what I mean. So this also, so the client, they're sending us raw video, raw images. We're cleaning everything up for them. We're making it look very polished, professional. And then we're writing these great captions. So, we're not just writing like 2, 3 lines. Instagram is, recognizing that this, account is somewhat of an authority on the subject. They have several paragraphs. We have a call to action for engagement. And then, we go into the hashtags. All of our hashtags are very relevant. We're not spamming hashtags. That's super important when you want to rank on searches. And we're using all 30 tags. So you want to use all 30 tags. You want the tags to be relevant. And then when I mentioned local tags, you see we're using the client city, Summit, New Jersey, Summit Moms. Florham Park is where his biggest competitor is. Short Hills, that's a neighboring town as well, his county. And then, some other terms that have to do with New Jersey. So I think those are some really like key things that, we've done well for this client, that, he's able to grow organically and he's reaching people that don't already follow him. So then we drive profile traffic. They like the profile and, they hit follow. Profile is strong. We also have a call to action to book online. This is a great page. We also have Dr. Sony does an about us highlight. It stands out. That's also another like little tip and secret that I like my accounts to have, because we're going to drive tons of traffic to the profile, but what's going to actually make them hit follow and learn a little something about you. So I love that about us highlight. I know I'm talking so quick. Do you have any questions, Matt?
Well, I think from a listener standpoint or a viewer who's the person who's interested in this, it's as if, you know, Instagram in itself is like a mini website. You know,
Oh yeah,
you're sort of setting it up to become a showcase. And what people fail to recognize is the engagement, right? So if you look on these posts, I think what you see is you don't see just plays, but you see the amount of comments, right? And that's the thing that I believe people are somewhat misconstrued about how Instagram works. Instagram works based off of engagement metrics and
absolutely.
not just plays. And so when you see this type of maneuvering where you're seeing 6,000 plays, 5,000 plays, whatever, that's nothing compared to what the true money is in this game, which is that who's responding and saying something, and then what are we doing afterwards, right? So when someone does respond, right, what's the strategy? And I think that's where a lot of people fail. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So, we try to engage people first, in the comments, and then we direct them to the direct messages if they have further questions. If they want a book, it's so simple. We just send them right here. Click the link in the bio. And we track this within Profit Engines, our CRM, so we know exactly how many taps we're getting on this link to request appointments directly from Instagram. This is also a great way to track your ROI from social media, which a lot of people have a hard time tracking. Another thing that we do, we put a you can't see because this is a desktop version, but we do have a tracking phone number here, which also goes into our CRM Profit Engines. So we're able to track phone calls and appointment requests, and then add the corresponding ROI so that clients know exactly how effective their social media, game is as an overall, picture compared with their other marketing strategies.
Yeah. And a lot of people fall short of doing what you just said, which is understanding the transparency of what they're doing. I just got off the phone call with someone who called me and I said, "Do you know what your acquisition costs are per channel?" And the answer I got was, "What does that mean?" Right? And I think people don't understand, if you're going to be spending money on doing ads, you're going to be spending money on doing social posts, you're going to be spending money on um, any of the quadrants that you're doing your marketing, you have to get a grip on where your acquisition costs are in each channel so that you can make a better decision on putting money towards the channels that are performing. And the yield curves, just like a economic situation, is that if you can measure your yield curves, what's driving not just the lead flow and acquisitions, but what's driving revenue. Well, if you saw a spike in a yield curve that said, "Hey, it looks like we're yielding from a dollars to lead management process, all of these Instagrams are converting to paid patients because you're tracking them through the system." Like you mentioned, we use Profit Engines as our main system. We could track dollar volume per channel. And now you can make better decisions based off of your channels on where you want to put your spend, because you could say our yield curve in, let's say, Instagram, we're tracking it, is 10x what we're getting out of Google, right? So you'd want to leverage the spend more in Instagram in that case because you knew you were getting a better yield from your dollars. So those are things to think about. Did I miss anything?
I just pulled up another account, Matt. I know this is another one of our showcases that, when we bring in new clients and we onboard them, we try to show them successful accounts to emulate. This account, we started working with her last February. She had 2,500 and now has over 70,000. Almost zero ads have been run on this page. This is almost all organic. So, there's so much that, can be done with strong content, great before and afters, great videos. This particular client, she's very involved. She speaks to her audience. It's a really great thing when we have a client that works well with us. They send us the content, we coach them, we pretty it up, and then we come up with this amazing strategy. This particular client has had to hire, I believe, 2 PAs and an MP, and it used to just be her last year. So, her business has just literally taken off only from organic social.
Right. And that's the real story here, which is that there's more ways to skin a cat, especially with this aesthetics world that we live in, because of the attractiveness of the market that you're going after in Instagram in this particular case, because it's a focal point for a lot of people, because that's what Instagram is. It is a visual and adaptive sharing platform. And so we really are learning that if people want to do these scenarios where they want to go, give me as many patients as I can get, well, you know what? You've got to hit all cylinders then. You're going to have to do an aggressive Instagram campaign with good social strategy. You have to do a good Facebook campaign, and you have to obviously do a good content calendar so you're mapping it together with your strategy. So there's obviously more things to talk about other than these topics when we talk about channels, but we just wanted to cover a few today. So thank you, Erica. I really appreciate it. It was wonderful having another discussion. Here we are in another month in July. We'll see you again in August to do another wrap up. And I'm excited to hear new stories. These were wonderful. And again, we'll chat with you soon.